Hey, Lowco football fans, welcome to another edition of the Lowco Pigskin Preview. We're getting you ready for week 5 of high school football season in the Lowco West. That means we're almost at the halfway point here. I mean, this is crazy how fast it's flying by. Region play right around the corner. We've got another great slate this week with some more Lowco on Lowco matchups, and we're going to have Dylan Price come on with us again later in the show to talk about the SCISA game. So here at the top, we'll go through the South Carolina High School League games. And first off, we'll get to the scores from last week. Bluffton 38-0 at home over Battery Creek after celebrating DJ Fields and retiring number 55 forever at Bluffton High School. Buford, a comeback 13-7 win and a defensive struggle against May River. Hilton Head 27-13 over Wade Hampton at home. Really impressive defensive performance by the Seahawks. Colleton County gets the first dub under Chris Howell, 19-12 at home against North Charleston. Really great to see that and see those kids get some success. Marlboro County 54-0 over Ridgeland. So unfortunately, the opposite story out at Ridgeland, and we hope they can get one under their belt here in region play. Whale Branch 53-12 at Burke. They were up 27-0 after a quarter. And then Estill 24-16 at Lee Central. Great season continues for the Gators. Anything that really jumped out at you this week, Wes? I mean, obviously the Buford May River game was the granddaddy, and then I think you would agree that Hilton Head score surprised us a little bit. Maybe not that the Seahawks won, but that they did it the way they did.
Yeah, they absolutely stymied Zion Dobson to the tune of, I believe, less than 30 rushing yards over the entire game.
I believe he officially had 19 on 11 carries.
That is incredible. What a job by that defensive line. Chris Marable, Shike Thompson, and company are doing an exceptional job. And just great to see that whole team back together after some issues these last few weeks with some illnesses. But just awesome to see that full group back. And they're playing some outstanding defensive football. And Coach Bain, I mean, he said they played a defensive game. They wanted to stop the rushing attack of Wade Hampton, and they did an exceptional job doing that and able to convert some chances in that second half and find the end zone. So excellent job there by Hilton Head High. And then I think what also really stuck out was Bluffton, not just beating Battery Creek, but shutting them out 38-0. I was expecting a little more from the Dolphins, but give credit to Bluffton playing a fantastic game on both sides of the ball. And defense was flying, and love the way that Max von Hohenstraten is connecting with Jalen Linder. And I just think that Bluffton offense has some exciting potential come region play, and already counting down the days of the Bridge Bowl next week.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it all year about how much fun this round robin was going to be this year. Even with, Buford out of the region now, it almost adds another element to it, just because it's a non-region game that means more than it usually does. So that's kind of cool. There are more important games on the schedule this year because you've got those Lowco and Lowco rivalries that have been so heated for years. So going to be really cool. I think, all those games, I mean, Buford and Bluffton and Hilton Head and Bluffton and May River and Hilton Head, I mean, they all look more competitive than they have been. There's a little more parity, so that's really exciting.
And you get Lucy Beckham, James Island. I mean, obviously, I think James Island is a top team, but not by much anymore. I think it's a lot closer. And then Colleton County, you have that wild card team that has been playing some good football and just picked up that first win of the season.
Yeah, I mean, that's a North Charleston team that, remember, Whale Branch really struggled with and that beat Stall pretty handily. And so they're not a pushover team by any means. So that was a good win for Colleton. That was a toss-up type of game, and they got it done. And that's learning how to win is a real thing, and they haven't had that feeling in a while there. So that was a great thing to see. But let's get into this week's slate.
And real quick before the slate, just updating you on the South Carolina High School League weekly polls. Yeah, Buford High and Whale Branch both ranked at number 5. Buford number 5 in 3A, Whale Branch number 5 in 1A. Wade Hampton falling to number 8 in Class 2A, and then Estill receiving votes. So another excellent showing by our Lowco squads here in the polls.
Yeah, I think Estill's knocking on the door. I think somebody in the top 10 loses. They're kind of next man up if they keep going. So that's good to see them getting some recognition because I think they're a quality team, and they get the week off this week. So let's get into this high school league slate. We got Bluffton 2-2 at Beaufort 3-1 in one Loco on Loco battle. Then Whale Branch 3-1 at Battery Creek 1-4. That's going to be the game of the week on WHHI. So you can watch the Beaufort Bowl, as they're calling it, on replay. I think they're streaming it live on their social media on Friday nights, and then they've got the replay running all weekend. So check that out. They're doing a great job. Then we got Cane Bay 2-1 at May River, the best 1-3 team in the state, perhaps, which could be the best 1-4 team in the state, and definitely the most dangerous one. Woodland 4-0 at Colleton County 1-3. Tough matchup for the Cougars, but man, if that'll be a great measuring stick for them because the Wolverines are legit. Bamberg 3-1 at Wade Hampton 4-1 in what should be a really physical, fun football game. So a little bit lighter high school league slate this week because the teams that started week 0 and played 5 straight through and got the break before the region are on their bye this week. So,
but the games are great.
But the matchups, are really good. So let's start with Bluffton and Beaufort, and that's where you're going to be out on the Isle of Ladies. This one more intriguing certainly now than it would have been a week ago, I think. Bluffton really took advantage of the bye week. We saw some big adjustments. The offense was really clicking on all cylinders against Battery Creek, and more importantly, the defense looked much improved. They figured some things out there scheme-wise, did a terrific job on the run, and man, J.Q. Williams and Jeremiah Curry, we've both been truthers on them for a long time. But you put those two guys at linebacker, that's a pretty good start to build around.
One of the best linebacking duos in the state, and I will agree with that all day long. I'm really excited for this ball game. Loco on Loco showdown. Great challenge for both teams, of course, a non-region game, but still a rivalry game between two teams in the Loco who want to come out on top and build momentum in the region play. One team's going to take that with them as they get ready to dive into the region schedule. Who's it going to be? It should be a fun battle over there on the Isle of Ladies, but I expect to see a good day for Beaufort's offense back home. Bluffton's defense has been playing better. You're going to have to find a way to contain the speed and the electricity of Samari Bonds, who can do it with his legs. Make him throw the ball more because he's trying to really grow his ability to throw the football, but he is tough to defend when he gets out of pocket and with his ability to scramble and pick up yards. So definitely tough to defend someone like that. But when you have that duo of Curry and Jaquin Williams leading a defense like that, it's a great situation here for Bluffton. And I think a multi-dimensional offense could be huge. I mean, if you can get the pass going from Bonds and have him grow as a throwing quarterback and get those quick completions to your guys like Casey Fields and Colton Ferries. And Ferries has really become to have a bigger role in the offense as a pass catcher. And Casey Fields, we mentioned him, and Bryce Lavin, very emotional last week post-game about talking about how much he means in the team and how much an underrated player he is in the state with his speed and electricity out there as a wide receiver and a playmaker. So if you can get him the ball, it's going to be tough for Bluffton to stop. But I'm sure the Bobcats are going to try to contain Samari Bonds with his legs ability, with his running. But when you can get quickly out to your receivers like Casey Fields, of course you have McLeod Rochelle, always a reliable pass catcher. So a lot of options still on this Beaufort receiving core, and I think this should be a really fun matchup in the secondary with Jalen Linder, who has been excellent once again. It's hard to any defense to stop him so far with his explosiveness, and the pass defense has been solid so far for Beaufort with Colton Ferries, Shamar Knight. So excited to see how that matchup goes with Jalen Linder. Of course, you get Kamari Simmons with his speed. I think he'll be a difference maker as the season goes on, and need some production in the run game against a defensive line that they've given up a few long carries on the ground this year. Certainly not as dominant as they were last year, but they still have some strong pieces like Jack Sumner. And of course, you have Michael Dennison over there at linebacker, who's a big rock of that core. And sure will give some opportunities to both Roderick Buxton, maybe give Kamari Simmons some looks in the run game as well. And that can open up that play action pass game with your guys like Jalen Linder, who can burn DB deep for a long touchdown. And, Bluffton coming in with some big time energy after that shutout win, a very emotional win, honoring DJ Fields back at home. And I thought this team played a complete game, outstanding on both sides. If they hang around to the second half and kind of absorb those first few punches from Beaufort, we could have a game. But we could also see Beaufort come in and roll them early if Bluffton, if they can play smart football on both sides and hang around, take care of the football, don't give up the big play. This could get interesting.
Yeah, and part of me kind of wants to be a little bit worried about Beaufort's offense. just because they're just not putting up a lot of points. But then you go back and you look at it, and you're like, well, it's Fort D, and then the Hilton Head game was weird, and then rainstorm against Goose Creek, and then May River's defense is actually really good, I think. So I'm kind of trying to break that down and not overreact to that. But this will be a good task, because if they can't get the offense rolling and putting up more than 14 points a game, then against some of these teams, then it could be a struggle later on. But I do think there's still that offense is still growing. Samari's definitely still growing into the role. May River was able to confuse him at times and get him a little hot on his reads and stuff. But the athleticism, the ability is definitely in there. So he's going to continue to grow as he processes the game at a faster speed. So I'm not worried about it yet, but there's kind of a little bit of a something stuck in the back of my head, like, yeah, they're just not getting in the end zone. But Casey Fields, man, he was a dude, absolute dude. But they've got to be able to get themselves into short yardage situations and not let Samari get into situations where the defense can really pin its ears back and make him make a quick read, at least until he grows into it a little bit, I think. But on the flip side, if you don't allow more than 7 points a game, you're not going to lose very many games. And that defense is really, really strong.
Yeah.
Really strong. So I look forward to seeing that Bluffton offense against that Buford defense. I think that's the matchup I'm most excited about there, because I think Buford's they're gonna get theirs. They're gonna wear you down on offense. They're gonna score a couple touchdowns for sure. But how many can Bluffton put up against that Buford D? So, and then we get to finally the opening of Battery Creek's new stadium. Every time we shoot for fall on these things, the school district, and they're never quite ready in time. They already had to move one home game over to Savannah Christian, but finally they get to open at home. And I think it's more appropriate really to open it with a big rivalry game against Whale Branch on WHHI anyway. So let's go showcase that new palace at Battery Creek, and hopefully the Dolphins give a little bit of effort to open it up this week, because they had a tough time against Bluffton last week, as we mentioned. And Whale Branch is not going to make it easy on them. This is a big brother, little brother type of situation. And Whale Branch got a little chip when they play Battery Creek, and they are a tough, physical team that can hurt you a lot of different ways. So I like Whale Branch in this one, but I'm hoping the home atmosphere propels Creek to make this a good game.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a big effort from the Battery Creek Dolphins. It's gonna be an emotional game. Finally getting to your new home stadium and having that first game in a televised setting with WHHI, and really excited for that. Really excited for the opportunity for this Dolphin squad. But Whale Branch has been playing some exceptional football, especially these last few contests. And I just love this addition of this Jerry Hatcher team. Really physical, and they've got some exciting weapons on offense. Shakai Pouchet has been the man alongside so many others. I love Jadarius Garrett. Only 2 for 13 receiving in a touchdown, but I think he's got a lot of big games in him going forward. Mason Griffin, some good work on the ground. And then Keith Chisholm, such an electric player. He was racking up those interceptions last year, got one last week, and also scoring a kick return touchdown. So really exciting player to watch, and love the way this defense is playing. They're flying, making tackles. Talon Lee with 13 assists in tackles and blocked the punt. So love the effort by this Whale Branch team, and I think they'll be on top of things against Battery Creek. But you'd love to see the Dolphins get that exciting run game going. Yeah, I love the way Jeremiah McKeachin and Damian Freeman are playing so far for Battery Creek, and just an outstanding start to their year in the running department. But disappointing showing last week. I think they get back on the right track and then looking to establish that run game again back at home with that home crowd behind them, getting back and now on their new home field. So really exciting times for Battery Creek, and I really hope they put it together against the Whale Branch team that is firing all cylinders right now. I expect the Warriors to take this one, but hopefully, Creek keeps it close and makes for a fun evening over there.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I really hope for is a competitive game. I'm going to start my night there and stay as long as it's competitive. And Really, I hope that's the whole game. That would be fantastic to be able to watch the whole thing and it come down to the wire. So, looking forward to that one. I do like Whale Branch in that one, but I think there's enough juice in that Battery Creek team that they could put it together one week and shock, just about anybody. So, if they get on the right track. So, Cane Bay and May River is, that's going to be a really good football game, non-region game. Cane Bay just beat James Island by a field goal, so a really good litmus test game for May River in terms of where they're going to stand up against what's considered to be the favorite in the region. And May River, I mean, you're 1-3, and you're not a team that's used to being 1-3. There's definitely going to be a little extra juice on that sideline on Friday night, especially the way they let one get away against Beaufort, because I think they felt like they should have won that football game and definitely outplayed Beaufort for the better part of 3 quarters. But Casey Fields did Casey Fields things, and they had some bad bounces and mistakes. But, I think this is a great game. I'm undecided on my pick at this time. I think it's pretty close to a toss-up because it's at May River and because they're coming off of that tough loss. They're going to have a point to make, but I'm interested to see where you fall on this one.
This reminds me a lot of where they were this time last year. They had a couple of tough losses early on in the season. They lost to Wade Hampton,
Mm-hmm.
but then they came back home to face a really strong Blythewood team, and they really put it all together that week, and that was a turning point of the season. This seems to be a very similar moment, possibly for May River, coming in at 1-3, a couple really close losses. Really, they're in all 4 of their. I mean, they could have been 4-0. I mean, they've been competitive in every one of their games, even against a really strong New Hampstead team in Georgia. So I really like the way May River has started the season despite the record. But I'm really high on them as they get into region play, and this is a big statement game against a really solid Cane Bay team. So I'm thinking I'm thinking the May River Sharks are going to put out a strong outing here on their home field and a great environment, but going to be tough against Cane Bay. Cobras 2-1. They beat Ashley Ridge, and then they stunned James Island 31-28. That's a nice win over a good Trojans team. So Cane Bay playing some nice football, and May River's going to have to execute. I love the way they played defensively against Beaufort. That was really impressive. Thomas Reich is someone who I've really grown on this year. He is just a heck of a playmaker over there, a great leader of that defense. And, so many guys have been making contributions, stepping up on the defensive side. Rodney Summers doing a great job with that group. So going to take a lot to take down this Cane Bay team. But, I just have a feeling that this is the week everything's going to come together for this Neighbor team. They're going to have to I think the key is find a way to score early, get on top, get that lead, and do what they like to do, run the football. I just love the way that they approach that side of the ball when it comes to the ground game, because when they can get the ground game going, that can always do big things for May River. But at the same time, you'd like to see more of that passing offense too, and you'd like to see them become 2-dimensional. So it's kind of a crossroads thing for the Sharks. But if they can put together a good offensive showing, I think they have the talent to get past this Cane Bay team, and I think it should be a great matchup over there at the Tank.
Yeah, I think they dabbled. They were able to dig into the playbook a little bit last week, and they showed a little bit different looks. A couple 2-back sets and things like that. So I think you'll continue to see them expand that a little bit. I'd like to see them get a little more multiple and just get spread out a little bit more, because they have a lot of athletes, but they play them all at running back. So and which, I mean, I get it. If they're a running back, you're a running back, but I think there are some things they could do with, maybe sliding Perry into the slot and running some jets and bubbles and stuff, and just to get on the outside a little bit more, and just to get some speed out on the edges. So we'll see. I mean, I just think when you play a really good team like a defense like Beaufort, it's really tough when you're one-dimensional, when you really just can't make a big dent in the passing game. So I think they got to figure that out, and maybe it means some packages for demo. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I'm not a football coach, but I can see that they need to be able to keep defenses honest a little bit more, so they can't just load up the box. So we'll see what they do there. They've got some talent for sure. I love what Al Schmidt's doing with the defense. You mentioned a couple guys, but Taekwon Calloway, which we covered his older brother Tyrone playing basketball. And Karan Green, Ahmad Green's younger brother, are both beasts on that defense. Peter Nodelman,
I
who
love
came
that.
over from Hilton Head Christian, has made some terrific. Man, he made a couple of really terrific plays defending Colton Ferries this week, including the one in the end zone to rip it out and keep him out of the end zone before the half. So I really like that May River defense. There's some good young talent on there as well as some veteran leadership. Jaden Jones obviously is a menace on the defensive line too. So bunch of guys there. I think that's going to be a great battle, but you got to be able to score. I mean, they've lost games now where they allowed 7 and 13 points, and that's tough to swallow. So we'll see how it goes this week for May River. Woodland at Colleton County. Woodland is 4-0. We saw them kind of put it on Bluffton a few weeks ago, and now they go to Colleton, which is coming off the first win since a couple of years ago. So I don't like this matchup for Colleton by any means. Woodland is a really good football team, but they're tough dudes who are going to come out and fight, and they've got some confidence now. So I think there is a blueprint where they get the ball and they run the heck out of it and chew the clock and just come up with some tough third and fourth down stops and hang around. But there's also definitely a path where Woodland hits a couple big passes, gets a pick, and goes up 3 or 4 touchdowns in the first half. So, what are you thinking about this one? I think Woodland's probably got this one, but I want to see how Colleton responds after getting that win.
Great litmus test for Colleton County
Mhm.
before getting into region play, and this is a very good Woodland football team in Class 2A. They've scored 55, 50, 49, and then 23 points in their first 4 games. So they've been putting it on opponents offensively, and I like the way they've been started on that side of the ball. And Bluffton, that's a solid win. Bluffton certainly on the up and up in 4A. He also beats Bishop England, St. John's, and Bethany Bowman, but they've been taking care of business so far, and certainly going to be a tough challenge for Colleton County. And but the opportunity is there. As you said, I think there's a path where they can hang in this ball game if they can shorten the game and grind out possessions, run the football, take down that clock, and then if they can get a couple big time stops, a couple forced turnovers, good game could swing in their favor, and that could absolutely do wonders for this Colleton team as they get ready for region play, and which I still think they can be a big factor in that region play. So huge for Colleton to get that first win this past week against North Charleston, the big momentum builder, against Woodland here. If they can take this one, I think they're going to be on a great track as they get into what should be still a wide open region. So I'm really excited to see how Colleton fares in this one, and good luck over there to the Cougars.
And then finally, we've got Bamberg Earhart 3-1 at Wade Hampton 4-1 in what is a heavyweight bout. Like, I mean, I know the Red Devils lost last week at Hilton Head, but I'm looking for a big bounce back performance from them. But won't be easy against Bamberg, a traditional power, maybe a touchdown this year from where they've been, but man, there's still a lot to handle. I think this is going to be a great game. Should be a pretty quick one because they both love to run the ball. I'm kind of leaning Hampton at home, but not fully decided yet.
Yeah, I'm not as high on Bamberg. I'm not as high on Bamberg as I was to begin the year.
Yeah,
They lost 35-7 against Barnwell, which
right.
Barnwell's a
And that's
solid team.
usually a pretty even matchup. So that
Yeah,
tells me they're down a little.
I do think this might not be the best Bamberg team I've seen. So I think the opportunity is there for this one in this contest for Wade Hampton, and a big bounce back opportunity for the Red Devils. Run game just wasn't able to get going against Hilton, and a lot of credit given to the Seahawks for what they were able to do. But Wade Hampton, they have the ability to bounce back. I thought they competed hard against Hilton Head. Just a couple of key plays going in the Seahawks' favor, and just excellent job dominating at the line. So going to have to have a better performance in terms of blocking to allow Zion Dobson to get those looks to run the football. I like how they're using him in the passing game as well. Really lethal with play action,
Mhm.
and I like the way this offense is operating so far. So big opportunity to bounce back for Wade Hampton. I think this would be a very close game. I still have not decided on my pick for it, and David Earhart looking to get hot themselves. I mean, certainly a disappointing loss against Barnwell, but they did bounce back against Blackville Hilda, a game which I do think they should win, and they did. And now one last opportunity to get tuned up before they get into region play. So Excited to see how both teams fare in this one, and definitely a lot to take away from both sides as they continue on their seasons.
Yes, absolutely, and I love Dobson. I mean, they do what you should do when you have a guy like Zion Dobson. You find a way to get him the ball in space, like one way or another. If you're not running it well, you find a different way to get him the ball in space because he can scoot and he can make guys miss. So love watching that guy
Also
with the ball.
love Mandrill Sanders,
Yes.
linebacker. He was all over the place. He was flying as the ball carriers, and he picked up 2 sacks in that game against Hilton Head. So, great impact player defensively. Just wanted to shout him out for Wade Hampton.
Yeah, no question. He's a stud. He's had that hammer on social media a couple times. He's a dude. So I'm really excited again about the Hampton County Hurricanes next year too. And I was actually DMing with Xavier Garvin from Estill a little bit over the weekend, looking for some more information on their game, and he seems excited about it as well. They're looking forward to closing out the history of Estill football on a high note, and then joining in forces with Wade Hampton for something that's going to be pretty special next year. So, well, that does it for the High School League Slate West. We'll take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back to talk with Dylan Price about the SCISA slate in Week 5 here on the Lowco Pigskin Preview.
This podcast is made possible by our sustaining sponsors. Our original sponsor, Mickelson Law Firm, the official real estate attorneys of LowcoSports.com. Go see Ryan and Tiffany and the Mickle Squad for all your legal needs and support the local businesses that support Lowco. Local Pie, official pizza sponsor of Lowco Sports. They sling the best pies in Bluffton and on Hilton Head, but don't sleep on the mac and cheese. Star Home Services, official residential cleaning service of Lowco Sports. Sometimes you just don't want to clean. Call on Carla and her amazing team to do the dirty work at a great price and tell them Lowco sent you. 843 Sport, the official training center of Lowco Sports. No matter your game, 843 Sport is the place to take it to the next level. They're bringing all the area's top trainers and some of the best elite travel teams from various sports under one roof at 843 Sport. DDS Web Design, the official SEO experts of Lowco Sports. If you have a business and you want to get found, look no further than DDS. They can build an attractive and effective website loaded with all the cutting-edge SEO tools you need to show up where people are looking, on Google. Dave and Denise will get it done. Additional support provided by Cannon Specialty Services, Bluffton Pest Control, Next Move, The Fit Club in Belfair Town Village, and our Patreon members. Join today for $1 or more per month at patreon.com/LowcoSports to get early or exclusive access to our local sports content and exclusive Lowco swag.
All right, joined now by Dylan Price as we talk SCISA football. Everybody should know by now that Dylan is a former Dorchester Academy standout, now studying at USCB, and has jumped on board with us here to help us cover our SCISA football because nobody knows it better, man. You were doing it just last fall, and so we were just talking off camera beforehand, and you've got some really great insight for it this week, so I'm excited to get into that. But let's run through the scores real quick. We were hoping to have you on Friday night. You had to get on the road after that game, but you were up there at Dorchester. Your boys put up a pretty good fight. They were within a couple touchdowns in the second half, but Thomas Hayward got it rolling and won 50-22. Running through scores real quick, Hilton Christian 56-6 over Northwood. Bethesda Academy won by forfeit over Cross. Buford Academy 43-14 up in Orangeburg Prep. Pinewood Prep beat JP2 40-26. Colleton Prep stayed undefeated 53-22 over Andrew Jackson. First Baptist beat Hilton Head Prep 28-14, and Patrick Henry won 44-20 at Greenwood Christian. So, Dylan, we'll start with that THA game. Just tell us a little bit about that and what you think that means going forward for these two teams, because Thomas Hayward, now they have Andrew Jackson at home. Andrew Jackson definitely a little down this year as they transition to 11-man. But your guys look good still. Just that one loss. No shame in losing to Thomas Hayward. And you were pretty impressed with Hayward and what the offense was able to do.
Yeah, the offense grounded and it looked like an old school Thomas Hayward team. They ran counters, they ran traps and powers. And then when they started doing that, when it was 3rd and 2, they hit you with a deep ball. And they scored. O'Banner scored a long run, but other than that, it was long passes. Tyson Mansell, first play of the game, they came right to him on a deep ball and scored. The game was a little bit closer than the score said. DA had chances. Tyson Mansell muffed a punt, and if it was recovered, it was a touchdown. But, it just didn't happen that way. The ball didn't roll that way. But, man, if Thomas Hayward didn't have Anthony Fripp, it would have been a different ball game because he might have not got as many yards or as many touchdowns, but he grinded the defense down a
13
lot.
carries, 104 yards, and a touchdown, alongside 15 tackles, tackle for loss, and 2 quarterback hits. A heck of a game for Anthony Fripp, and a big spark plug for this Thomas Hayward team. Tell me about your impressions that you got from your Dorchester Academy team, and what your guys can take out of a game like this as you move on this season.
Well, it was kind of hard stopping a guy like Fripp. He's not a taller dude, but he's very stocky and very strong. They just got to keep playing how they were playing. They didn't try to do anything special against Thomas Hayward, which was good, and they didn't pull out any trick plays. But, they just got to keep rolling, keep their head straight, and they got a good, that game prepared them because nobody's going to be as physical as that Fripp kid. Nobody's going to be as good on the line as that kid. So I think that game, you take your medicine, but it does prepare them for the long run.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I mean, you've seen as tough as it's going to get, and now you can prepare yourself for that. So definitely should, take a step down after you've seen that. And I thought they put up a great fight. I mean, I was impressed with Dorchester's performance there. Really excited about them, going forward. So it looks like you're going to have some excitement up there in the old stomping grounds. Any of these other scores really jump out at you? Did you see anything that kind of made you turn your head on Friday night?
Well, you saw Hilton at Prep put a little bit of fight in the fourth quarter against First Baptist. They just couldn't get it rolling the whole game, really. And then Pinewood looks like they want to sit there and sling the ball, and they ended up stopping JP2 on defense. And, I said whoever stops each other on defense, that's the ones who's going to win by a lot, and that proved to be right. But, and then Hilton Christian had a good rebound game, not rebound game, but kind of like
get right,
getting everybody right about it with Northwoods. Other than that, Patrick Henry, good win for them.
Especially without the quarterback again, without Hugh. That was really impressive to me that they were able to get it done so easily without him. They're playing great, man. I mean, they got a lot of plug and play guys. Michael Tucker Mathis seems to be like the Swiss Army knife guy who, wherever you need him, he'll jump in there and get you some production. But well, let's get into this week's games a little bit. On the SCISA side, we've got Hilton Christian Academy 2-2 at Buford Academy 3-0. I'm going to get to that one at least for the second half. I'm pumped to see that matchup. Andrew Jackson 0-3 at Thomas Hayward 4-0. That one, could be interesting, but Hayward should be able to handle them. PD, which took a loss last week, took it on the chin to Williamsburg, by the way. That was interesting. Eye-raising, you might say. And now PD comes to Hilton Head Prep for the afternoon delight in Steve Pines. Prep 0-4. That's a tough matchup, but gosh, who knows on any given Friday afternoon in Steve Pines. Florence Christian 2-3 at John Paul II 2-2. That's a really intriguing matchup. We'll see if Cross is going to play this week. I would bet not. Probably not traveling to 4-0 and dominant Lee Academy if you're barely trying to scrape together enough guys to play football. Spartanburg Christian 2-2 at Carlton Prep 5-0, and then Clarendon Hall 3-1 at Patrick Henry 3-2. So let's start with that Hilton Christian BA game because that's the big one as far as the Lowco on Lowco matchup goes. And this one, I'm pumped for this one. This has been a good matchup. BA came out and really tried to put a hit on them early last year, and then Jace Blackshear just took over. But there's no Jace Blackshear this year, and that BA offense has been so much fun to watch. You talk about Hayward being able to beat you on the ground or with the deep ball. They can do it too. Tayshawn Hayward has really added an element to that offense, and they already had the running game. So, and Braden Deneen looks just phenomenal. So, what are you guys thinking about this? Is this the year that BA gets over the hump against HHCA?
At the end of last season, I was thinking that we could see that changing of the guard as we get into 2022. And BA, they fought hard in that game last year. I was actually calling the game with Andrew Goldstein at WSAV over there last year for BA Hilton Head Christian Academy, and the BA Eagles were right on the tail
Mhm.
of Hilton Head Christian Academy, and it all went south in the second half. But this is a completely different matchup. Of course, you don't have Jace Black, you don't have Jax Lanier, all those stars from HHGA, and for BA, you have a group of guys who are dialed in so far this year, and it really starts that running game with Devontae Green and Jackson Porter, two veterans of that system. And then you look at all the strides and the steps that Braden Ean has taken this year as a passer with the help of having that deep wide receiving threat in Tayshawn Hayward, which has really set this offense apart. And the defense has been playing well additionally. I mean, you look at what Alex Williams has done, picking up some sacks early on in the year. I really love the way that defense plays, hard-nosed group. Hilton Head Christian Academy still trying to find their way. They had that get-right game. They look good against Ben Lippen, so they're on the right trend, but this BA team is looking very solid to begin the year. It's going to be a heck of a contest between these two squads and two great coaches, and Ron Peduzzi and Mark Clifford. So excited for this one. I'm kind of jealous that you will be there. I'll be at Beaufort Bluffton, excited for that one as well at Ladies Island. But, man, this is going to be a heck of a contest. Still have not decided who I'm going to pick, but it is going to be a phenomenal game to watch.
Yeah, we'll just have to get some walkie-talkies and just radio back and forth across Ladies Island about what's going on, because we'll be right there together, just a couple miles apart. So definitely north of the Broad is the place for all the action this week. We got Lowco on Lowco battles at all three schools up there, or at three different schools up there, involving four different schools up there. So that's going to be a blast. But
I will say Hilton Christian, they do have some dudes on both sides. I really like the way Caden Turner's playing. He's been the spark plug in terms of the skill position play. He's
touchdown every game.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you the consistency right there is pretty impressive. And defense, you got Big Daddy Matthew Scarpa, James Crosby with a really nice game against Northwood. Isaiah Anderson's a two-way player who can do it all. And the depth that they established last week, obviously a much tougher task for the Academy. But, I think this Hilton Christian Academy team, we haven't said this a while, but kind of a chip on their shoulder right now. And I think they're playing some inspired football, and, going against a rival like BA, they're going to bring their best game.
Yeah. I mean, Hilton Head Christians is a very different team this year, and not the best of ways, but they're making it work. And then Beaufort Academy is a different team, meaning they're firing on all cylinders, and they don't want to stop. So I think Beaufort Academy is finally going to take the reins this year and get their first win over Hilton Head Christian, and since they came to 11-man. So I do have Beaufort in this one.
Yeah, I think I do too. And stop me if you don't track on this, but I think maybe if they played 3 or 4 weeks from now, I might feel differently. Like Hilton Head Christian has a lot more upside than BA or Thomas Hayward do, because they got a bunch of athletes out there who are learning how to become football players. And there's nobody better to teach them than Ron Peduzzi and Matt Smith. Like they're really, really good at developing athletes into football players. And so I think they have a lot of room for growth as this season goes on. I think we've already seen it through these first 4 games. Whereas, Hayward and BA, they got dudes who came into the season knowing what they were doing, and they're going to fine tune and they're going to improve, but there's not going to be that big jump because there's not that learning curve. So, you just see like Caden Turner developing into a wide receiver in real time, and learning how to do it. And
great basketball player too.
Man, that guy's going to be fun to watch for a while. And then you put him and Isaiah at either defensive end and let them get after the quarterback. Like that's a pretty interesting thing as they start to figure it out. So I'm not counting Hilton Head Christian out at all. I think BA is the better team right now. But like I said, if they played the last week of the regular season, it might be a totally different situation. So, and injuries too. But BA is definitely, they're kind of at peak form right now. So I think I like them this week. Then we got Hayward at home against Andrew Jackson. And, this sets up to be a real physical, quick football game. But you got to see Hayward in person this week, Dylan. So you think they're going to be able to overwhelm Andrew Jackson pretty good?
I do. They might have a little bit of struggle running the ball because of how big Andrew Jackson is, but Andrew Jackson really has no answer for Tyson Menzo. They're committed to stopping the run, and Thomas Hayward, if they wanted to, they could go spread all night and score as many as they want. But so I don't see it playing out well for Andrew Jackson.
And that's what Dietrich Schufer can bring to the table with the passing game that he's developed, and he get guided out. in the space, like Tyshawn Mansell and some other guys in the receiving game, that could be the difference here to propel the Rebels, and especially with that speed to the outside, which has just been lethal this year. So I expect Hayward to roll in this one at home against Andrew Jackson.
Well, and how do you game plan for them? Because like one week Tony O'Banner's like a tight end, slot guy who's just a menace on the secondary, and the next week he's a running back again, and he's just tearing you up. Like you don't know what you're gonna see.
No, you just got to do what you do the best you can do, and then hope it works. Really.
Yeah, there's a lot of scouting that goes involved. That's involved in that, and you only got so many hours in the week to get ready for it. So Hayward's playing video games over there, kind of like they are at Bluffton, and it's really fun to watch as a media guy, as a fan. It's exciting because you don't know what you're going to see, and there's a lot of variability in there. But what do you think about Hayward's line? I mean, obviously they lost some guys the last couple of years off that offensive line, but this group seems to be doing a pretty dang good job. Did anybody stand out to you as the Hogs up front? I know as a former lineman, you like to get them some love.
Well, they're doing their job fine, but they're not a line from last year where it was like when you played Thomas Hayward, you're like they're going to be huge.
You're going to be hurting in the morning.
Yeah, they're not those guys, but they're doing their job perfectly fine, and that's all you can really ask for when you have, because they had a big drop off with losing. I know at least 3 studs.
Well, I mean, shoot, you got one who's playing at UAB from 2 years ago, and you got one who's at the Citadel from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And you got, I don't know where Samir is, but that was one big cat you didn't want to tangle with. I mean, they had some big old jokers on that line.
Yeah, they have lost a lot, but I want you to speak of Lawson Hewlett because he's having a fantastic season so far on the line. What are your thoughts on him?
He didn't stand out to me on the line, but more as a linebacker. I know Fripp got a lot of tackles, but he kind of played the role of filling the holes, taking out the lead blocker. And he played really good. That impressed me a little bit as a linebacker. And then, he played line last year, so he's the most experienced lineman that I've seen. So he's doing a good job. He's really leading that defensive, that front 7, and then the lineman really well.
Yeah, Josh Alonso, also a guy who's kind of been a mainstay on that line. That he could hide a little bit the last couple of years because he had big old guys around him, but now he's kind of had to step up and lead. So got to give him some props as well. Anytime you got a senior on a young offensive line, he's doing yeoman's work. You know that, Dylan. He's bringing those young guys along, probably giving them all their reads at the line and everything else. So give him some love for sure. But let's get back on the preview train here and move on to PD Academy at Hilton Head Prep. And Prep, man, they are fighting. I texted with Dustin Etheridge a good bit this weekend, and spirits are still pretty high. They're still feeling like morale is good. They are trying to make some changes. He's going to assumed play call duties last week, and they're going to mix in more read option. He said try to get Alonso some more opportunities, which I like. I love to see a young coach not being stubborn and steadfast and recognizing, hey, we're 4 games in, and this season, the story of this season is not yet written. We can change the course a little bit here, but we got to be able to swallow our pride and make some adjustments. And he sees that, and I think you saw some success in the second half there against First Baptist that portends well for Hilton Head Prep to be able to at least compete in some of these games down the stretch and hopefully get a win or two to boost their spirits a little bit. But this is going to be a tough one because PD, much like Hayward, despite being a small school, they have athletes who they can put in a lot of different formations and situations and put your defense on its heels. So what do we think about this matchup? Is going to be another tough one for Hilton Head Prep, or can maybe the afternoon heat and Sea Pines level the playing field a little bit? What do we think?
Yeah, it's going to take a lot for Hilton Head Prep, especially defensively, to stop all that PD Academy brings to the table. Of course, you got Hudson Spivey, one of the best quarterbacks in the state, leading the Eagles, and you always have some strong skill position players by his side this season so far. It's been Spivey's been a big part of the run game, but you've also seen some explosiveness in the passing game. Sophomore Colby Richardson has been a big part of that. So they have some weapons on the outside, and Prep is not had the best time defending such a team with a multi-dimensional offense like that. So it's going to be a tough challenge for Hilton Head Prep. I like what they're doing on offense. That they're putting AJ Barger. It's Barger, right?
Barger. Barger.
It is Barger. I was right the first time. All right.
Yeah.
Barger. I like what they're doing, putting AJ Barger in kind of a wildcat look and having Daly run some read option routes and putting Barger in more of that role with his athleticism and this ability to pick up yards on the ground and throw a little too. But Wyatt Harmer's grown as a passer. He's throwing a good deep ball and, of course, getting Barger on the outside and having him work there and then look to catch some deep balls. Certainly we've seen a little bit of so far, and hopefully the offense will improve as the year goes on. But I really like Barger. What a great player. What a spark plug to have on the offensive side. If they can get Alonso Daly going. The blocking has been an issue so far, having not gotten that production on the offensive line. And if they can get that going to have to find a way to hold the ball longer, kind of, in a sense, not give PD, shorten the game. Don't give PD that many opportunities and have the game as little possessions as possible. Hold on to the football. That's what you need to do to try to contend with this PD Academy team. And it starts with that line producing, and it starts with Alonso Daly producing as well. So there is a formula to hang with this PD team, but it's going to be tough for Eagles, and they're going to be hungry. PD Academy coming off a loss to Williamsburg Academy. I'm really impressed by this Williamsburg team, a side that lost the state championship game and certainly a chip on their shoulder after falling Hilton Head Christian Academy in that 2A title game last year. But the Stallions have rattled off 4 straight wins to begin the season, really all in dominant fashion. So really impressive stuff by Williamsburg Academy, and PD is definitely going to be hungry for this one, going to want to get back on the right track. And Max Preps is playing
autoplay in the video. We all know the Max Preps autoplay video trick. It's always a good time.
Yeah, really impressed with Williamsburg Academy. So PD's going to want to respond well, and I think they do so in Sea Pines, but not without a fight from Hilton Head Prep. Really impressed by the way they battled for all 4 quarters this year. Dustin Etheridge is getting them off to the right track. The wins aren't coming, but I think they will if they continue to display this fight and get better as a team. So really like what Dustin Etheridge is doing here, Hilton Head Prep, and better times are certainly ahead for the Dolphins.
I bet Dustin Etheridge is stopping every teenage boy in Hilton Head he sees that orders like a double cheeseburger or something, being like, "You want to come play offensive line at Hilton Head Prep, buddy?" Because that's all they're really missing. I mean, they've got some athletes and they've got some young talent, but they definitely need some big boys up front.
Yeah, if you played PD 3 or 4 years ago, they sat back, slung it, and threw it, and they didn't run the ball. But Spivey has gave them, another weapon because he can run the ball and he can throw it. I played him when he was a freshman, and man, that kid is big, he is physical, and he can sling the ball.
I remember him beating Hayward as a freshman, I want to say. It had to be before that. But Spivey, yeah, I think it was, right?
Yeah, I think it was. I think
they
beat
the
him
last
at
team
home.
that beat Hayward in the playoffs, and
Yep.
I was there. They hurt Logan Thomas. I'm pretty sure Spivey was there then, wasn't he? But they won.
I've seen Spivey in many SCISA 2A
timeline
against Hilton Head Christian Academy, and he was a competitor on the field. He gave it his all, and especially that last year, that semifinal was a battle. But I mean, Hilton Head Christian Academy did not get that one easy, and a lot of that was the dialed-in play of Hudson Spivey, and he is on a mission this year to bring the PD Academy to a state title.
Yeah, they're fun to watch, man. Those Hayward PD games were that's as good as SCISA football gets because it was really. They're always really good battles, and PD Christian has had some good ones too. So should be a fun one out in Sea Pines, at least worth the price of admission, and should be a nice afternoon out there too to enjoy the Lowco. So moving on to Florence Christian at JP2. Wes, you and I both were saying early on, like, don't sleep on Florence Christian. And now that loss to Carleton Prep, doesn't look nearly like what we thought it looked like in week 0. And now they got a couple wins under the belt. This is a really interesting matchup to me because these are 2 teams that I feel like are kind of middle of the pack in that 3A set that could easily emerge as kind of contenders if some things break right. So I'm interested to see how this comes out. Tons of offensive firepower in this game. And so once again, kind of like last week at Pinewood, who can come up with a stop late? It's going to be a 1-score late game in the 4th quarter at some point. Who gets the stop and the score to make it a 2-score game? So What do you guys think about this one? I'm way up in the air on this.
It's a toss-up. It's going to be a fantastic game. I like the way Florence Christian is playing. Obviously, there were some concerns after that first loss to College Prep. We didn't really know how good College Prep would be, but this Warhawks team is cruising right now, so there's really no shame in falling short to the Warhawks on the road in that first game of the season. They lost 49-0 at Hammond and got beat once again. No shame in losing to Williamsburg Academy either, but they picked it up. They got a win at home against Orangeburg Prep, and then they shut out Conway Christian on the road. So Florence Christian certainly on the up and up, and this one could go either way against JP2. John Paul, the second team, coming off a tough defeat against a good Pinewood team, battling hard. And yeah, I think this one could go in either direction. Love how both Huntley brothers are playing over there at Florence Christian. Jewel over there at quarterback, and then Jules Huntley, the junior, Jewel the senior. Jules Huntley, the running back. So some great weapons there, explosive run game. Both Huntleys can run the football, and it can be tough to defend when they both get on there. And then he got some options in the receiving game. Johnson's having a nice year over there at wideout, and Mika Johnson. So JP2 is going to have to be disciplined defensively. Florence Christian can do a lot. Can show a lot of looks over there at offense. So going to have to see some big play there by that line and that entire defense to make some game-changing plays and hold down a Florence Christian team that has really turned the corner here over these last few contests. And let Christian Tilton cook if you're JP2, because he has been an absolute star on offense. Love the way Tony Hill's running. Good to see Jackson Ogden back in the game last week. He's such a weapon with his speed. And so if the line can do a good job blocking, open up those running holes, I like the opportunity for JP2 to put up some points on offense. And this is one of those games, as you mentioned, we could see a lot of scoring. It could come down to that final possession.
Yeah, I agree. If you're a defensive coach for either team, you're wondering what team's going to do, because JP2 can go flex mode, run the triple option down your throat, or they can get out, spread the ball out, and pass it. And then Florence Christian can go bone double tight, powers, and then they go empty set. So I love both of the offenses. Both of the offensive coaching styles I love. They're very multiple. They can do about anything. So I do think, it's going to be a high-scoring game, and somebody's going to have to step up and get the stop.
Yeah, probably a turnover. I mean, it's whichever drive ends in a fumble or a pick that ends up in points going back the other way. That's usually how it goes in those shootouts. Is whichever one breaks surf is the one who wins. So I like this JP2 team a lot still. They had a lot of penalties and turnovers, mistakes last week. I shouldn't say turnovers, but Tilton is growing up in real time. He's the last couple of weeks he's been impressive on both sides of the ball, and there's just a want to there that you can't teach. You either got it or you don't, and he's a competitor, and that's the guy you want with the ball in his hands every play, because he's going to give you a shot. So I think I'm leaning JP2 this week, but they've burned me a couple times. I'm such a JP2 truther. I think they're so close, man. I think they're on the cusp, and I'm always believing in them when sometimes I shouldn't. But I think that's going to be a great matchup. Should be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, not sure that you might be at that one, Dylan. We might send you to that one. We'll see where we send you out on Friday night, because I think you're ready to go get another one after last week. That was fun. We'll pass over Cross and Lee. Because I'm not sure that game's going to be contended. Not sure exactly. We need to get an update on what's happening at Cross, but they forfeited the last two, and probably in everyone's best interest if they don't make the trip to Bishopville. Spartanburg Christian 2-2 at Carleton Prep 5-0. This will be a good test, a litmus test for Carleton Prep. But I think the Davis twins will TCOB with that offensive line in front of them, and I think we'll get another happy report from Greg Langdale, fairly early in the evening. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Carleton Prep has been rolling so far, and it's a big part has been those Davis brothers. Have just been fantastic in the running game, and Spartanburg Christian is going to be a tougher test than what we've seen before for Carleton Prep. But I expect the Warhawks to find a way to win this ball game. The defense is playing fantastic. I love the job that Noah Catterson's doing, and Walker Nettles and that entire group. And it's tough when you have that perfect record to keep it intact against teams that are gunning for you. But I love the way Greg Langdale's inspiring this team every week to play their best football, and they're going to put that effort out there on the field this Friday. So I love this Carleton Prep team. What a story this team continues to write early on in the year, and definitely a tough challenge, but I do think the Warhawks can come out top and improve to 6-0.
Yeah, Spartanburg Christian has been known for running the ball a good bit, and after watching this Carleton Prep defense, I don't think that's what you want to do against Carleton. I think you want to spread them out a little bit more. So if Spartanburg sticks to running the ball, I think Carleton Prep comes out on this one pretty big.
They haven't thrown the ball much. Spartanburg Christian, they've had 3 guys under center and not many passing yards. They've been mostly a running team. They do have some weapons on the ground with Asante Jenkins, who can run the football, but if Carleton Prep's defensive line can use to stand tall, going to be tough for Spartanburg Christian Academy to find their way. So I like Carleton Prep here in this game, but could be closer.
Yeah, they're awfully good in the trenches. Awfully good. They got a bunch of senior dudes who are country strong and put in the work, man. Like they're grown men up front. So that's good. I mean, they don't look like a SCISA line really. Like they're big dudes. They look like a public school football line, at least a small school. So moving on to Clarendon Hall at Patrick Henry. This is an interesting matchup. Clarendon Hall, pretty solid squad, but we've all been really impressed with Patrick Henry. We'll have to get a report from our guy Jeffrey Strickland on Hugh Ferry's status, although I think they may be playing it close to the vest. But they got a couple different plan Bs. I mean, they used Forrest back there some the first game, and then Michael Tucker Mathis played, I think, mostly like quarterback last week. He was 6 for 9 passing with a touchdown pass, and that's about all you need to do when you're, a power running team. And he had a good game on the ground, over 100. So they had a really solid outing against Greenwood, and I think they're settling in that if they do have to play without Hugh for another week or two, they're starting to figure out what that looks like. So I kind of like Patrick Henry at home, but it's going to be a tough one.
Clarendon Hall going in 3-1. They've been playing some strong football to begin the year. 3 straight wins over Andrew Jackson Academy, Dillon Christian, Kings Academy. Not in terms of the most quality teams that they're going against in SCISA, but they've been taking care of business these last few games. So Clarendon Hall looking good. I think they'll bring a strong test over when they face Patrick Henry in this ball game. But I like what I've seen from Brock Mathis under center for Clarendon Hall. He's been growing as a quarterback, and they've got some guys who can run the football. A big year so far for Darius Aiken, who's averaging only just under 200 yards a game. So according to Max Prep, if the stats are correct. So big start to the season for him. Going to be, obviously, we've seen that defense play well so far, Patrick Henry. So they're going to have to stand tall once again. So excited to see how this one plays out. I really like how Patrick Henry is starting this year. Just a great story coming back, returning to 11-man football for the first time since the 90s, and they're tearing it apart so far early on in the year. What a game from Forrest Ferry. 3 interceptions, including a pick 6 last week. That's an insane stat line right there. And Michael Tucker Mathis has been putting the team on his back in multiple phases of the football game. So excellent start to the season for Patrick Henry, and I liked him this week against Clarendon Hall.
Big game for William Hazel, too, as well. Got to give him a shout out. He's one of the only seniors who's really one of the big contributors. All the other guys are younger, so that's going to be a fun team. Dylan, what do you think in this one?
Well, it's hard to really have an expectation for this because these 2 teams have been in their region in 8-man. So is it going to correlate? Is the same result going to correlate? Or does the 11-man work out better for Patrick Henry, or does it work out better for Clarendon Hall? And Clarendon Hall, number 2, he is Darius Aiken. He is really physical. He is really fast. He's a really good playmaker on that team. But then Patrick Henry, they have William Hazel, and they have, hopefully they get Hugh back. That would be big for them. And they have playmakers all around too. Patrick Henry reminds me of like a last year's DA team, kind of not big, very fast, very physical. They fly to the football, and that's really all you need.
Yeah, you can get by with that in SCISA 1A.
Yeah.
It's a little different game. It's I recently learned about speed football. I don't know if you guys know about this, but there's only a handful of programs in the country, but it is, it's a college thing, and you just got to be under 175 pounds to play.
Yeah.
And to me, as a guy who weighs 150 pounds, is age 44, that sounds like so much fun. Like, I could actually compete in that. It's like real football, but just for little dudes. And that's kind of what SCISA is like. Like, I think a lot of people around here have not really ever watched SCISA football, and so they don't exactly know how to compare apples to oranges, when they've only watched public school football. But that's kind of what it's like for me. It's just you take away the big behemoths, and it's just it's the same game. It just looks a little bit different. And the 1A games, especially, like it's kind of cool. It's just a different thing happening on a little bit smaller scale. But more importantly, it's just more opportunities for more kids to play, and that's the most important thing. But I love what this Patrick Henry team's doing. I'd love to see them get this win. I think that would be a big boost for them going forward the rest of the way. And I think they got a chance to make a little bit of noise. So looking forward to that. All right, guys. Well, that's it for the slate for SCISA this week. Should be a good one. Where do you want to go, Dylan?
Well, I was actually planning on going to the BA Hilton Christian game, but I can go to John Paul.
Well, we can figure it out. We'll get you in one place or the other, but one of us will be at one and the other one will be at the other, and we'll get you all the report on Lowco Pigskin Live. We'll get you updated on all of it at 11:15 p.m. Friday night. So check that out with us. All right. Well, thanks so much to Dylan Price for helping us break down the SCISA games. Looking forward to Friday night, and hopefully you can jump on with us on Lowco Pigskin Live and report from whichever game you're at. So thanks, man. Have a great week out there at USCB. Get your classwork done, and we'll see you on Friday night.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Be right back with more here on the Lowco Sports. We'll be right back with more here on Lowco Pigskin Preview.
And thank you to our past recurring sponsors, including Horizon Rehabilitation and Physical Therapy, Coastal Plains Insurance of the Lowcountry, 4M Metals, Hilton Head Insurance and Brokerage, Brody's Bar and Grill, and AGC Gutter Company. Thank you for supporting our mission to create quality local sports content that celebrates our teams and athletes. Go Lowco!
All right, Wes. Once again, really thrilled to have Dylan with us this year and what he brings to the show. He's talking about all the different formations and sets they run and more detail than we could ever give you. And he's watching the huddle every week, man. He's still trained to watch film every week. He's done that every weekend of his life for a long time. So he's still on there every weekend, checking out the huddle and really giving us insight that nobody else can. So what a cool thing. And last year, he was a guy we were talking about on this show. So that's kind of a neat thing. But players of the week, last thing to do here, Wes, before we go start prepping for week 5. We got to look back on week 4 a little bit. And man, you narrowed down the list, and there are 13 guys on the list. I got to get it to 10. I don't know how I'm going to do it. It's going to be tough. But you get the first crack at it, and you got a bunch to choose from. Where are you going with your player of the week?
I'm going to give some love to Anthony Thripp of Thomas Hayward. What a week on both sides of the ball. 13 carries, 104 yards on the ground with a touchdown, and then doing some work on the defensive side. 15 tackles, 8 of them solo stops, tackle for loss, and 2 quarterback pressures. A guy that just did it all for Thomas Hayward to will his Rebels past the undefeated Dorchester Academy team. Just a heck of a performance. Love his energy and compete out there, and just the physicality that he plays with and the speed that he brings to this Thomas Hayward team. Unbelievable difference maker. So absolutely deserving my player of the week honors. Congratulations to Anthony Thripp.
Yeah, I almost gave it to him last week for a very similar performance where he was just putting up yards on offense and racking up tackles on defense. I mean, one of the things I love about this year's Hayward team is they do have that depth in the backfield. Nicholas Robinson has emerged as a guy who can carry the load as well. So they're not going to have to get guys really beat up and worn down over the course of the season. They're going to be pretty fresh, keeping them to 9, 10, 11, 12 carries a game. And allowing them to play on both sides of the ball, which they have to do this year. They do not have the depth of guys to go, platooning fully. They've got to have their dudes on both sides of the ball. So great job by Fripp there. Love the guys who are going both ways. That says a lot for me. I'm going to have to go, and I keep doing this. When you see it with your own eyes, there's something about it. Casey Fields. I got to go with Casey Fields from Beaufort. I just felt like that one scoring drive, that first scoring drive for Buford, really turned the tide, and it was him on every play. I mean, obviously the offensive line was doing great work, Hart Cushman and that crew up front, but and Adrian Lamb as well. Gosh, he's a monster. But Fields was just fighting so hard, man. He was turning 3-yard carries into 7 or 8 and 8 into 11 or 12 and moving the sticks and just slamming it down their throats against a really good defense. And it really just kind of sucked the air out of the place. And when they drove down and scored, you could feel everybody going, dang it, we had them. We had them. And then, of course, May River fumbles it, the next offensive play, and they punch it in, and Fields emphatically slams it over the goal line. And I mean, it was something else. And then to see the way that Bryce Ladbrand reacted when I asked him about that drive, and he got choked up talking about Casey being one of the most slept on guys in South Carolina, and I can't disagree with him. Like there are just not enough people talking about this guy. He is a phenomenal athlete, and he could be a phenomenal defensive player too, but they don't need him to be. So, he is really focused on the offensive side of the ball. He's really a receiver. They moved him to the backfield because they needed somebody who could help carry the load back there for Caleb Ulmer. And to Ulmer's credit, he didn't miss a beat. He was ready to play his role. But Casey Fields put the team on his back for that one drive and really changed that game. So I'm giving him my player of the week. I haven't seen his official stats, but I had him just around 150 yards, and they were hard-fought yards on the night when they were not easy to come by.
Yeah, Casey Fields. I love that choice for player of the week. Absolutely a spark plug that the Eagles needed in a really tough battle against May River, carrying the team when his team needed it the most. So excellent job there by Casey Fields. I love the pick. I just love his speed and electric abilities when he gets the ball in open space and he can just fly past defenders. And I agree, he could be a star on defense as well with his athleticism out there. So, man, I just love watching him play. And I agree with Bryce Ladbrand, one of the most slept-on players in the entire state of South Carolina. We've been giving them some love at Prep Red Zone. I've been right for Prep Red Zone this year, and we've taken notice of what Casey Fields has done out there on the football field. And this is just a reliable player you can turn to for Buford to when he get the ball in his hands, he is a threat to take it all the way. Fantastic speed and athleticism, and I just really enjoyed watching him continue to grow as a football player and his determination out there on the field in big time spots throughout the ball game. And he was a guy who put Buford Eagles over the top on Friday night for a huge win over the rivals.
Absolutely, and shout out to his guy Colton Ferries too, because he's having a heck of a year and is a heck of a football player, and we've got him on this week's Lowco Sports Lowdown that we'll be getting up for you as soon as we can. So be sure to check that out. All right, Wes. Well, that does it for this preview show. We are ready to go for kickoff of Week 5 on Friday night, really Friday afternoon out in Sea Pines. So looking forward to it. You'll be out
early.
You'll be out on the Isle of Ladies for Bluffton and Beaufort. I will be starting out at Battery Creek and then potentially jumping around and get some photos and video from some other places. And we settled it with Dylan. He's going to the Isle of Ladies as well. He'll be at HHCABA, so we have somebody at that Lowco on Lowco clash from start to finish. So we'll be out there covering the games, and we'll try to round up as many people as we can who are at the other ones to come on and tell us about them Friday night. Might have to push back to 11:30 since Wes and Dylan are coming back from the outer reaches out there on Ladies Island. But we'll make sure we get live as soon as we can and get you updated on everything that happens under the Friday night lights. Until kickoff, go Lowco.